Before we dive into today's terrifying tale, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss a spine-chilling story. Let's get into it. The Never-Ending Show.
I could hardly contain my excitement when Alex surprised me with tickets to see Electric Shadows, my favorite band from the 80s. It felt surreal, as if I were reliving a piece of my youth that I had thought was lost forever. When the day of the concert finally arrived, I was practically vibrating with anticipation. We pulled into the crowded parking lot, and the energy was electric. Fans decked out in vintage band tees were milling about, their faces lit up with nostalgia. I spotted a few people holding old albums and memorabilia, and I couldn't help but smile at the sight. It was like stepping into a time machine. As we made our way to the venue, the smell of popcorn and spilled drinks mixed with the scent of the crisp autumn air. My heart raced as we walked inside, the lights dimming to signal the start of the show. I grabbed Alex's hand tightly, my pulse quickening with every beat. The stage was set, bathed in vibrant colors, and as the first notes echoed through the auditorium, I felt a thrill wash over me. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. The band appeared, and the crowd erupted into cheers, a sound that vibrated through my entire body. I felt like a kid again, lost in the moment. The lead singer stepped up to the microphone, and as he began to sing, I found myself overwhelmed with emotion. The songs I had listened to on repeat during my teenage years came to life before my eyes. I was dancing in my seat, completely lost in the music, feeling as if nothing else mattered. But as the night wore on, I noticed something strange. The clock on the wall above the stage was stuck at 8:30, the same time the concert had started. I exchanged a glance with Alex, who seemed equally oblivious to the bizarre detail. "Did you see that?" I whispered, pointing toward the clock. "Maybe it's part of the show," he replied, his eyes gleaming with excitement. I shrugged it off and tried to focus on the performance. The band transitioned from one song to another, but as the hours passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It started to feel like time itself was warping, stretching into an endless loop. As they played on, the same songs echoed repeatedly, and the excitement in the crowd began to wane. I could see other audience members glancing at their watches, confusion etched on their faces. The energy that had filled the room started to shift, replaced by an unsettling tension. "Something feels wrong," I said to Alex, my voice barely above a whisper. "Relax. It's just nostalgia, babe. It's what we came for," he replied, but I could see the uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the growing anxiety. I was determined to enjoy the concert, no matter how strange it felt. But as the band continued to play, I couldn't ignore the nagging sense of dread that clung to the back of my mind, whispering that something was terribly wrong. With each passing moment, I felt more and more trapped, caught in a spiraling descent into an experience that was quickly becoming a nightmare. As the band continued to play, a creeping sense of unease settled over the crowd like a thick fog. It was as if we were all entranced, caught in a bizarre loop. I glanced at my watch, and my heart sank. It was still stuck at 8:30, just as it had been when the concert started. How could time stand still like this? "Hey, Alex," I nudged him, trying to keep my voice steady. "Do you think we should leave?" He looked at me, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean? The concert just started. We can't leave now." "But it's been hours," I insisted, scanning the crowd for anyone else who seemed to notice the bizarre situation. Instead of concern, I saw excitement on their faces, like they were trapped in a dream from which they didn't want to wake. I felt a shiver run down my spine as the music shifted again, repeating the same chorus we had heard before. It was almost as if the band was deliberately toying with us, replaying songs like a broken record. The lead singer's eyes, once filled with passion, now appeared hollow, and the smiles of the band members looked eerily forced. "Are you all right?" I asked Alex, searching for reassurance in his eyes. He hesitated, glancing at the stage. "Yeah, I feel weird, like something isn't right. But I don't want to leave yet. Not now." I swallowed hard, feeling a mix of fear and desperation. "We need to get out of here, Alex. Something feels wrong." Just then, a series of flickering lights captured my attention. I turned toward the back of the auditorium, where I noticed figures standing in the shadows. They wore outdated clothes, dresses and suits that seemed to belong to another era. Their faces were blank, their eyes unseeing, staring into nothingness. "Do you see those people?" I pointed toward them, my voice shaking. Alex squinted, but the moment he turned to look, the figures vanished. "What people?" he asked, confusion lining his features. I felt a chill crawl up my spine, a sensation of being watched. "They were right there," I insisted, feeling more isolated as doubt began to creep into Alex's eyes. As the band played on, I felt a sudden chill in the air, the warmth of the crowd turning oppressive. I turned back to the stage, only to find the lead singer staring directly at me, his gaze piercing and unnaturally intense. "Join us," he sang, his voice almost a hiss. "Stay forever." A wave of panic surged through me, and I gripped Alex's arm tighter. "We need to go now," I shouted, my voice rising above the music. He looked taken aback, caught between his desire to enjoy the concert and the urgency in my tone. "What's wrong?" "They're not real, Alex. We have to leave before it's too late." Just as I began to pull him toward the nearest exit, the crowd surged forward, blocking our path. The music crescendoed, drowning out my pleas. I fought against the throng, desperate to escape, but it was like wading through a sea of bodies, each one lost in their own trance. Panic swelled in my chest as I realized we were trapped, the exit now seemingly miles away. I turned to Alex, desperation in my eyes. "We have to break through." He hesitated, torn between my fear and the allure of the performance. "Just a little longer," he pleaded, but I felt a darkness creeping in, wrapping around my thoughts like a vice. Suddenly, the lights dimmed even further, and a cold breeze swept through the venue. The music distorted, echoing through the air like a ghostly wail. It was then I realized that the band was no longer playing. They had stopped altogether, leaving only the haunting sounds of our restless crowd. "Please, Alex," I begged, my voice cracking. "Let's go." But as I looked around, I saw that many others were beginning to panic, just as I was. The expressions on their faces mirrored my own dread. I felt the walls of the venue closing in, and in that moment, I knew we had to escape before we became part of this endless show. With every second that passed, the atmosphere in the venue grew heavier, more suffocating. The crowd, once filled with excitement, had transformed into a sea of fear. I could see terror etched on the faces around me, people desperately searching for exits, their eyes wide and frantic. I tugged on Alex's arm again, trying to maneuver through the throng of bodies. "Come on," I shouted, my voice barely breaking through the mounting chaos. "We have to get out of here." He hesitated, glancing back at the stage, as if still hoping for the concert to resume. "Wait, let's just see what happens," he urged, but my heart raced with urgency. "No, it's not safe." I pulled him again, and this time, he reluctantly followed as we edged toward the nearest exit. The crowd pushed against us, but I fought to maintain my grip on him, the fear gnawing at my insides. As we approached the doors, a strange feeling washed over me, a sudden chill, like ice water flowing through my veins. I glanced back at the stage and was met with an unsettling sight. The band members stood frozen, their eyes now hollow and devoid of life, as if they were marionettes without strings. And then I saw them again, the shadowy figures from before, emerging from the edges of the crowd. They drifted toward me, their movements unnaturally smooth, gliding above the floor. Each figure wore the same vacant expression, eyes staring blankly ahead, as if they were trapped in a nightmare they couldn't escape. "Do you see them now?" I gasped, my heart pounding in my chest. Alex's face turned pale as he finally spotted the ghosts. "What the hell?" "Keep moving," I urged, panic coursing through me. "We have to get out before they reach us." But just as we reached the exit, a blast of cold air swept through the venue, slamming the doors shut in front of us. I stumbled backward, crashing into a wall of bodies. The panic escalated. People were screaming, pushing, and shoving in a desperate attempt to flee. In that chaos, the figures began to close in, their spectral forms merging with the frantic crowd. I felt a hand grasp my wrist, pulling me backward. I turned to see one of the ghostly figures looming over me, its face distorted and twisted, an expression of torment etched into its features. "Join us," it whispered, its voice an echo of despair. I recoiled, heart racing as I tried to break free. "Get away from me!" I screamed, but the figure only moved closer, its icy breath chilling me to the bone. "Stay forever," it hissed, its eyes boring into mine. I could feel my resolve slipping, as if it were trying to draw me into its world of despair. Just then, I felt Alex's hand on my shoulder, pulling me back to him. "We need to get out," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. I nodded, the terror in his eyes reflecting my own. Together, we pushed through the panicked crowd, desperately searching for another way out. As we moved, the figures continued to loom closer, their whispers filling my ears with tormenting secrets from the past. I could hear them speaking my name, revealing my deepest fears and regrets. "You can't escape," they echoed. "You belong to us now." Every word clawed at my sanity, threatening to pull me under. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to drown out the haunting voices. "Keep going," I urged Alex, my breath quickening as I fought against the tide of terror. Finally, I spotted a side exit, partially concealed by a cluster of bodies. "There," I yelled, pointing toward it. Alex nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. "Let's go." We pushed forward, breaking through the last remnants of the crowd. But just as we reached the door, another cold gust rushed past us, slamming it shut. "No!" I screamed, pounding on the door in desperation. The ghosts were closing in, their presence suffocating, a palpable darkness wrapping around us. I turned to Alex, fear etched across my face. "What are we going to do?" "We find another way," he said firmly, his voice steadier than mine. But as we backed away from the door, I could feel the shadows creeping closer, their whispers clawing at my mind. "Stay with us," they beckoned, their voices intertwining with the fading echoes of the band's music. I glanced around, frantically searching for an escape. The walls felt like they were closing in, and in that moment, I knew we had to act fast. If we didn't find a way out, we would become part of this haunting, eternal performance, a chilling show with no end. Panic surged through me as I turned to face the shadowy figures closing in around us. Their whispers had grown louder, an unbearable chorus of despair that filled my mind. "You can't escape," they chanted, their hollow eyes locking onto mine. "Join us. Stay with us." I felt the weight of their presence bearing down on me, a suffocating force that threatened to pull me into the depths of their nightmare. "Alex," I shouted, my voice trembling. "We have to find a way out." We rushed through the venue, our hearts racing, desperation driving our every move. The crowd had dispersed, but the ghosts remained, their shapes weaving through the shadows, watching, waiting. I could see them standing near the exits, their forms flickering like old film footage, as if they were trapped in time. "There!" Alex shouted, pointing toward a narrow hallway that seemed to lead backstage. It was dimly lit, but I could see a faint glimmer of hope at the end. "We can try that way." We sprinted toward the hallway, pushing through the heavy atmosphere that surrounded us. As we entered, the noise of the crowd faded into a low hum, replaced by an eerie silence that made my skin crawl. The flickering lights overhead cast unsettling shadows on the walls, and every step we took echoed like a drumbeat in the void. "Do you think we're getting closer?" I asked, trying to keep the panic at bay. "I hope so," Alex replied, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "But we can't stop now." As we moved deeper into the hallway, I glanced over my shoulder. The ghosts had followed us, their faces now twisted in expressions of longing and pain. It felt like they were beckoning us, urging us to join their eternal lament. "Please, don't leave us," they whispered, their voices intertwining like a haunting melody. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing myself to focus on the path ahead. I couldn't let them get to me, not now. "We have to keep going," I shouted, determination surging through me. Finally, we reached a set of double doors at the end of the hallway. I pushed against them, and they swung open with a creak, revealing a darkened room filled with old stage equipment and discarded props. The air was thick with dust and the lingering scent of smoke, remnants of the tragedy that had unfolded here years ago. "Is this it?" I asked, uncertainty creeping into my voice as I scanned the room for any sign of escape. "Let's see," Alex said, moving cautiously inside. As we stepped further in, the door slammed shut behind us, echoing through the silence. I jumped, spinning around to face it. "What the hell?" Panic gripped me as I turned back to Alex. "We're trapped." But before he could respond, the room filled with a cacophony of sound, cries, screams, and the haunting echoes of music from the stage above. It was like a macabre symphony, and I could feel the walls vibrating with the intensity of it all. "Look," Alex shouted, pointing toward the back of the room. A faint light flickered, drawing my attention to a small door at the far end, barely visible in the shadows. "Do you think that's a way out?" I asked, hope igniting within me. "Only one way to find out," he replied, moving toward it. As we approached the door, I felt the ghosts closing in, their presence suffocating. "Stay with us," they cried, their voices blending into a haunting chorus. "Don't leave us alone." I gritted my teeth, trying to drown out their desperate pleas. "We can't listen to them," I shouted at Alex. "We have to go." We reached the door, and I tried the handle. It was locked tight. "No, come on," I yelled, banging on it in frustration. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and I could see my breath fogging in front of me. The ghosts surged forward, their faces twisting with anguish. "Join us," they screamed, their voices rising to a deafening crescendo. "Push," Alex shouted, shoving against the door with all his might. I joined him, our combined strength crashing against the wood. With one final push, the door splintered open, and we stumbled through into a blinding light. I shielded my eyes, and as the brightness faded, I realized we were back at the main stage, but the scene had changed. The band was still playing, but now they were surrounded by the ghosts of those who had perished in the fire, their faces contorted in pain and longing. "No," I gasped, realizing the horrifying truth. We hadn't escaped. We were trapped in a cycle, forced to witness the endless performance, destined to join the audience of lost souls. As the music swelled, I felt the ghosts pressing in around us, their cold fingers grazing my skin. I turned to Alex, fear flooding my heart. "What do we do now?" "We fight," he said, determination in his eyes. "We can't let them take us." But as the spectral figures closed in, their whispers growing louder, I knew we had to act fast. If we didn't find a way to break the cycle, we would be lost forever, part of a show with no end in sight. The air crackled with an electric tension as the ghosts surrounded us, their mournful expressions twisting into something darker, something desperate. I could feel their icy breath against my skin, and panic clawed at my throat. "What do we do, Alex?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "We find a way to break the cycle," he replied, his eyes scanning the crowd, searching for a glimmer of hope amid the despair. "We have to confront them." "But how?" I felt utterly helpless. The music continued, the haunting notes reverberating through the venue, mixing with the whispers of the lost souls. It was a dreadful symphony of pain that gripped my heart. Suddenly, a chilling thought struck me. What if we confront the band? I said, my mind racing. If they're the source of this, maybe we can stop them. Alex nodded, determination flooding his features. "We have to try. It's now or never." We pushed our way through the throng of ghosts, their spectral forms swirling around us, their whispers growing louder, more frantic. "Stay with us. Join the performance. Don't leave," they cried, their voices merging into a cacophony that threatened to drown us. With every step, I felt their icy fingers brushing against my arms, as if trying to pull me back into their fold. I shuddered but forced myself to keep moving, my heart pounding as we reached the front of the stage. The band played on, their faces expressionless, as if they were oblivious to the suffering around them. "Hey!" I shouted, my voice rising above the music. "Stop! You need to stop!" They didn't seem to hear me. It was as if we were in a bubble, isolated from the world outside. But I wasn't going to let that deter me. "Alex, help me!" He grabbed my arm, and together we pushed toward the edge of the stage. "We need to get their attention." Just then, the lead singer turned to us, a fleeting glimmer of recognition passing through his eyes. "You shouldn't be here," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. "You must leave." "No," I cried, desperation clawing at my throat. "You don't understand. You're the reason they're trapped here. You have to stop playing." The band's music faltered for a split second, and in that moment, I saw the flicker of their humanity beneath the surface. "We can't stop," the drummer said, his voice trembling. "If we stop, we're trapped too." My heart sank. "You're dead, aren't you?" I asked, the realization hitting me like a punch to the gut. "You're all dead." The lead singer's face twisted in anguish, and he nodded slowly. "We've been here for years, bound to this stage. The music keeps us alive, but it also keeps them here." I felt a surge of anger. "You have to break free. If you stop playing, you can escape this hell." The whispers of the ghosts grew louder, a chorus of desperate pleas for us to join them. "Stay with us! Don't leave us alone!" they cried, their voices echoing in my mind. "No," I shouted, shaking my head violently. "We will not become like you." With a deep breath, I turned back to the band. "You have to trust us. Please." They exchanged glances, and for a moment, I saw the flicker of hope in their eyes. "Okay," the lead singer said hesitantly. "On 3, we stop." I nodded, adrenaline surging through me. 1, 2, 3. As the last note rang out, the music stopped and silence enveloped us. The ghosts paused, their expressions shifting from despair to confusion. "No. Break the cycle," Alex shouted. In an instant, the ghosts surged forward, their faces twisting with rage. "You can't leave us. Join us," they screamed, their voices rising in a terrifying crescendo. But we stood firm. "We're not yours," I yelled back, my voice cutting through the chaos. The band members began to fade, their bodies becoming translucent. "We're free," the lead singer cried, his face lit up with relief. As they dissipated into the air, the ghosts screamed, their forms flickering and fading with each passing moment. I grabbed Alex's hand tightly, ready to fight against the tide of despair. Suddenly, the venue began to shake, the walls warping and bending as the remnants of the past tore themselves apart. "Run!" I shouted, pulling Alex toward the exit. We dashed through the swirling chaos, the voices of the ghosts fading into nothingness as we burst through the doors. I felt the fresh night air wash over us, cleansing us of the suffocating darkness. We stumbled outside, the stars shining brightly above us. The festival was still alive, music and laughter echoing in the distance, but the haunting specters of the past were finally behind us. "We did it," I gasped, collapsing against a nearby wall. "We actually did it." Alex looked at me, relief flooding his eyes. "We broke the cycle. They're free now." But as I stared into the night sky, I couldn't shake the feeling that the echoes of that ghostly concert would linger in my mind forever. The shadows of the past might be gone, but their stories would remain, a chilling reminder of what had once been. We had escaped, but the memories would haunt us, a lingering whisper in the dark, a reminder that some shows are never truly over.
The Phantom Crowd.
I arrived at the festival just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the fairgrounds. The air buzzed with excitement, a cacophony of laughter, music, and the distant smell of food vendors frying everything from corn dogs to funnel cakes. I could hardly contain my anticipation as I clutched my VIP pass, eager to get close to the stage where my favorite band would perform. As I made my way toward the front, the pulsating beat of the music vibrated through my bones. The crowd swelled, and I felt a surge of energy as everyone danced and sang along. This was what I lived for, the thrill of being part of something so exhilarating. But as I navigated through the throngs of fans, something felt off. I shook my head, trying to dismiss it as excitement, but an unsettling feeling prickled at the back of my mind. At first, I thought I was just imagining things when I noticed figures standing at the edge of the crowd. They looked like they had stepped out of another time, wearing clothes that seemed outdated and faded. Their expressions were blank, eyes dull and unfocused. I blinked, trying to clear my mind, convincing myself it was just the excitement playing tricks on me. But the nagging unease settled deep in my stomach. As the music played, the strange figures remained in my peripheral vision, never fully coming into focus. I felt a chill in the air that didn't match the heat of the festival. I tried to ignore it, But the whispers began, soft at first, like the rustling of leaves, but gradually growing louder. I could almost make out words, though they slipped away whenever I tried to listen closely. It felt like they were beckoning me, urging me to hear their secrets. I turned to my friends, trying to explain what I was seeing, but they laughed it off. "You're just imagining things," one of them said, slapping my back playfully. I forced a smile, but inside, I was trembling. I didn't want to ruin the night for them, but the more I looked at those figures, the more convinced I became that something was horribly wrong. Then, as the band struck up a powerful song, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the crowd. In that brief moment, I caught a glimpse of one of the figures, a woman in a tattered dress, her face pale and twisted in a haunting expression. I gasped, stumbling backward, my heart racing. I glanced around, but everyone else seemed oblivious, lost in the music, their laughter echoing in the warm night air. I could feel the weight of my fear pressing down on me. The festival, once a place of joy, was becoming a trap, and I felt the pull of something dark lurking in the shadows. As the night wore on, I tried to shake off the dread settling in my stomach, but it clung to me like a shadow. I forced myself to focus on the music, the rhythm pulsing through the crowd, but every time I looked at the edges of the gathering, those figures remained. They were there, hauntingly still, their presence growing more pronounced with each passing moment. I glanced back at my friends, who were blissfully unaware of my turmoil, lost in the euphoria of the festival. "Hey, did you guys see those people?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. They turned to look, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of hope that they might see what I was seeing. "What people?" One of them chuckled, shaking his head. "You're just getting spooked. Relax. It's just a show." But I couldn't relax. I felt it again, the whispers. They grew louder, weaving through the crowd, tugging at my attention. It was a chorus of voices, each one more desperate than the last. I tried to ignore them, but the sound seeped into my mind, filling it with an insistent murmur. I moved away from my friends, inching closer to the edge of the crowd, desperate to understand what was happening. Then, without warning, the music dropped to a low hum, and the atmosphere shifted. The air felt thick, suffocating, and I turned to see the figures advancing toward me. Panic surged through me as I staggered backward, bumping into someone. I spun around to apologize, but the stranger was gone, swallowed by the crowd. "Please, leave me alone," I shouted, feeling ridiculous but needing to voice my fear. The figures seemed to pause for a moment, and then one stepped forward, a tall man in a dusty old suit. His eyes locked onto mine, vacant and hollow, as if he were staring right through me. I felt a chill race down my spine. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging the area into darkness for just a heartbeat. When the illumination returned, the crowd around me had shifted, and I was now surrounded by those ghostly figures. They stood in silence, their faces twisted in expressions of pain and despair. I couldn't move, paralyzed by their haunting presence. Then, I heard it, a voice, clear as day, cutting through the music and chaos. "Help us," it whispered, and my blood ran cold. The air felt heavy with their sorrow, wrapping around me like a thick fog. "You can't leave." I turned to run, my heart pounding in my chest, but the figures were closing in, their mournful gazes piercing into my very soul. I fought to push through the throngs of people, but it was as if the crowd was closing in on me, trapping me in a cage of flesh and bone. I stumbled, desperate to escape, but every direction I turned only brought me face to face with another ghostly apparition. "Get away from me!" I screamed, my voice lost in the music. I could feel the whispers wrapping around me, drowning out the laughter and the songs. Just when I thought I was completely engulfed, a burst of bright lights shot overhead, illuminating the crowd in a dazzling display. In that moment of distraction, I saw my chance. I bolted away from the figures, racing toward the festival's edge, determined to escape whatever nightmare had gripped me. My heart raced as I pushed through the crowd, but the whispers still echoed in my ears, urging me to turn back. I could still hear them, their sorrowful calls a haunting reminder that they were not done with me yet. My heart pounded as I sprinted toward the exit, desperately weaving through the throngs of oblivious festival-goers. The lights danced overhead, but they felt cold and distant, unable to chase away the shadows lurking at the edges of my vision. Each step I took echoed the frantic thudding in my chest, and I could still hear the whispers following me, clawing at my mind. Finally, I burst through the gates and into the quieter area outside the festival grounds. The music faded to a dull thrum behind me, but the voices didn't stop. "You can't escape," they lingered in the air, wrapping around me like an invisible shroud. I leaned against a fence, gasping for breath, trying to gather my thoughts. The night sky was clear, the stars twinkling above, but their beauty offered no comfort. I felt exposed, as if something unseen was watching me, waiting for the right moment to strike. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out, hoping to find a familiar voice to ground me. "Hey, where'd you go?" my friend's text read. I stared at it, torn between the desire to respond and the urgency to warn them about the figures. Instead, I typed, "I think I saw something weird. You guys need to be careful." Before I could hit send, I heard a rustling behind me. I whipped around, heart racing, but it was just a stray cat slinking through the shadows. "Get a grip," I muttered to myself. I took a deep breath, convincing myself that the festival had just gotten to my head. But then I heard it again, a voice, softer this time, whispering my name. I felt a chill race down my spine as I turned slowly. The man in the dusty suit stood just a few feet away, his hollow eyes locked onto mine. "Help us," he urged, his voice barely more than a breath. I took a step back, fear gripping me. "Stay away from me," I shouted, but my voice trembled. He didn't move closer. Instead, he gestured to the festival grounds. "They can't see us. You have to help us find peace," he said, his tone filled with an eerie sadness. Panic surged through me. "I don't know what you want. Just leave me alone." I turned to run, but the moment I stepped away from the fence, the world shifted. The festival came crashing back into view, brighter and louder than before, as if I had never left. I found myself standing in the middle of the crowd again, surrounded by the same ghostly figures. They loomed closer, their faces now twisted in anguish. I stumbled back, trying to find an escape, but the crowd had closed in, blocking my way. The music pulsed around me, but it felt oppressive, suffocating. "Please, help us," they chanted, their voices blending into a haunting melody that echoed in my mind. I shook my head, desperation clawing at my throat. "I can't help you. I'm just here to enjoy the show." But deep down, I knew I was lying. As the song reached a crescendo, the figures surged forward, their hands outstretched. I turned and ran, weaving through the crowd once more, but every path led me back to the same spot. The panic rose within me, choking me as I realized I was trapped in a loop, unable to escape the ghosts that haunted this place. In that moment of despair, I remembered the stories I had heard about the festival grounds, the tragic fire that had claimed so many lives years ago. I had brushed them off as mere rumors, But now, with every anguished face surrounding me, I felt the weight of their history pressing down on me. If I didn't find a way out, I would become just another lost soul in this nightmarish crowd. As I caught my breath, I closed my eyes, trying to calm the rising tide of panic. I have to find a way out, I thought. I can't stay here. But as I opened my eyes again, I was met with the same haunting faces, and their whispers intensified, drowning out the music. "You belong with us," they chorused, and I could feel the ground shifting beneath me, pulling me deeper into their world. As the whispers grew louder, I felt a cold sweat forming on my brow. Panic clawed at my insides, and I stumbled backward, desperate to escape the growing throng of spectral figures surrounding me. Their hollow eyes seemed to pulse with a shared grief, and I felt a deep sense of foreboding settle into my bones. "Help us," one of the figures pleaded, his voice a haunting echo of despair that reverberated through my mind. I wanted to scream, to break free from this nightmare, but something held me in place. The air thickened, heavy with sorrow, and I could feel the weight of their tragic stories pressing down on me. In a moment of sheer instinct, I shouted, "What do you want from me?" My voice broke through the cacophony, momentarily silencing the whispers. The ghostly figures stepped closer, their eyes filled with an intensity that made my heart race. "Remember," a woman's voice drifted from the crowd. Her face was ashen, framed by a tangled mess of hair. "Remember the fire. Remember us." I blinked, trying to recall the fragmented stories I had heard about this place. It was an old concert hall, a venue known for its vibrant performances before the tragedy struck, a fire that had engulfed the building, leaving behind a dark legacy. I had brushed those tales aside as urban legends, yet here I was, faced with the haunting reality. Suddenly, vivid memories flooded my mind. I envisioned a bustling crowd in this very spot, laughter and music filling the air. Then came the panic, the flickering lights, the acrid smoke, the screams of those trapped inside. My stomach twisted as I realized these figures were not just shadows of the past. They were the souls of those who had perished in that horrific blaze. "I can't help you," I cried out, feeling the weight of their pain settle on my shoulders. "I didn't know. I'm just a fan here for a concert." The woman stepped forward, her eyes piercing into mine. "You're here for a reason. You have to understand our story, or you'll be trapped like us." My heart raced as I took a step back, but she reached out, her hand hovering just above mine. "Please," she urged, her voice trembling with desperation. "We need someone to remember. Someone to tell the world what happened." In that moment, a wave of realization washed over me. They weren't just asking for help, they were pleading for acknowledgement. The silence surrounding their tragedy had left them wandering, lost between worlds, unable to find peace. And if I didn't act, I would be swept into their fate, another voice silenced in the crowd. I looked around at the ghostly figures, their expressions softening as they sensed my shift in understanding. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice shaking. The woman smiled faintly, her form shimmering in the dim light. "Share our story. Let people know we were here. Let them remember the fire and the lives lost." Just then, the music surged back, the beat pulsing like a heartbeat. The figures began to fade, their forms shimmering like mist in the moonlight. "Hurry," they urged, "before it's too late." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their sorrow lingering in the air. "I promise," I whispered, "I'll tell your story." But just as I began to believe I could find a way out, the ground shook beneath me. The chaos of the crowd returned, swirling around like a violent storm. The figures began to dissolve into the fray, their voices merging into a mournful chorus. "You can't leave us." With my heart racing, I turned and ran, driven by the urgency to escape this place and share what I had learned. I pushed through the throngs of people, the laughter and music blending into a cacophony of noise. I felt the darkness creeping in, threatening to pull me back, but I refused to let it take hold. As I reached the edge of the festival grounds, the night air hit me like a wave of relief. I was outside the chaos, gasping for breath, but the whispers still echoed in my mind. "Remember us. Share our story." I took out my phone and began typing furiously, determined to capture everything I had experienced. I had to find a way to honor their memories and help them find peace. The festival continued behind me, oblivious to the tragedy that lay hidden beneath the surface. But I knew that I couldn't walk away without doing something. As I looked back one last time, I felt the presence of the spirits lingering in the shadows, their sorrow still heavy in the air. "I won't forget," I promised. And with that, I turned to leave, my heart still pounding, but now filled with purpose. As I stepped away from the festival grounds, the echoes of their voices lingered in my mind, wrapping around me like a cold fog. The night air felt heavier now, charged with the weight of the stories I had just uncovered. I hurried through the streets, determined to share what I had witnessed, but the images of the ghostly figures still haunted me. Each face I had seen was etched in my memory, their hollow expressions a reminder of their unfulfilled lives. I found myself sitting on a nearby park bench, my heart racing as I typed furiously on my phone. I recounted every detail, the chilling whispers, the woman in the dusty suit, the realization of their tragic past. I felt a sense of urgency. If I didn't get this out, I might lose the connection I had forged with them. The more I typed, the more I felt their presence beside me, guiding my words. With each sentence, the dread I had felt began to morph into a sense of responsibility. I had been chosen to tell their story, to give voice to the silent echoes of the past. I had to make sure that people understood the importance of remembering those who had perished in the fire, how their lives mattered, even if the world had moved on. But just as I finished my post, my phone buzzed again. I glanced at it, heart dropping. It was a message from one of my friends at the festival. "Where are you? You have to come back. You won't believe what's happening." Curiosity gripped me, but a voice deep inside urged caution. The festival had already revealed its dark side, and I wasn't sure I wanted to return. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that something more awaited me. Something vital to complete the connection I now felt with the spirits. Taking a deep breath, I made my decision. I would return, but this time I would be prepared. I had to find out what was happening, not just for myself, but for the ghosts who had entrusted me with their story. As I approached the festival entrance once more, the energy shifted. The lights were brighter, the music louder, but there was an underlying tension, a sense of unease that hung in the air. I pushed through the crowd, navigating my way back toward the stage where I had first encountered the apparitions. And then I saw them again. The same ghostly figures, but now they were standing at the edge of the stage, watching intently. I felt a chill race down my spine. It was as if they were waiting for me, urging me to join them. I hesitated, the crowd oblivious to the reality unfolding just beyond their view. But as I stepped closer, the music abruptly shifted. The vibrant tunes faded into a haunting melody that sent shivers through the crowd. The ghosts began to sway, their movements fluid yet unnerving. I stood frozen, captivated and terrified, as their whispers grew louder, mixing with the melody. "Join us," they urged, their voices intertwining with the music, creating an eerie symphony. Help us find peace. Feeling an overwhelming compulsion to respond, I stepped forward, caught in a trance. The figures extended their hands toward me, and I could see their expressions shift from despair to hope. It was as if they believed I held the key to their release. But just then, a piercing scream shattered the moment, echoing through the night. The crowd began to panic, people scrambling for exits as chaos erupted. I turned to see a small fire flickering at the back of the stage, the flames licking at the air, a dark reminder of the past. No, not again, I thought, fear coursing through my veins as the realization hit me. This was happening again, a cycle repeating itself. The spirits were drawn to the fire, and if I didn't act quickly, more lives would be lost. With adrenaline surging through me, I rushed toward the stage. "Everyone, get out!" I shouted, pushing through the crowd, trying to reach the nearest exits. The faces around me were a mix of confusion and terror, but I couldn't stop. I had to save them. I felt the heat rising behind me, the smoke curling into the air. The ghostly figures began to flicker, their forms merging with the flames. "Help us!" they cried, their voices desperate now. With every ounce of strength, I fought against the panic and chaos. I grabbed people by the shoulders, directing them toward safety, all while the shadows of the past closed in around me. As I reached the final group near the stage, I turned to see the spirits standing with me, their faces filled with an urgent plea. "You can save them," one of them shouted, and in that moment, I understood. I had to do more than just remember. I had to make sure this tragedy didn't repeat itself. "Follow me," I yelled, my voice breaking through the panic. "We need to get out now." I led the last group away from the chaos, urging them forward, the fire crackling behind us. And just as we made it outside, the flames erupted into a full blaze, lighting up the night sky. Breathless and shaken, I turned back to the festival grounds, my heart pounding as the reality of what I had witnessed sank in. The spirits had guided me, using me to save the living, and now they were finally free. The echoes of their whispers faded into the night, leaving behind a profound silence. I looked up at the stars, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. I would share their story, not just as a warning, but as a celebration of the lives lost and the importance of remembrance. As I walked away from the chaos, I knew this wouldn't be the last time I would tell their story. The past had intertwined with the present, and I was now its voice.
The voice of despair.
I still can't believe I managed to get VIP tickets. I've been a fan of Dark Havoc for as long as I can remember, and the fact that I'm standing here, right in front of the stage, feels unreal. The crowd around me pulses with energy, and the lights from the stage flash in a hypnotic rhythm, illuminating thousands of faces, faces as excited as mine, all waiting for the band to appear. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest, not just from the bass vibrating through the speakers, but from the sheer excitement of being here. This is the moment I've been dreaming of. After years of listening to their albums on repeat, watching their music videos, and following every piece of news about them, I'm finally about to see them live. It's everything I've ever wanted. The lights suddenly go out, and the roar of the crowd explodes around me. I scream along with everyone else, my voice drowned in the sea of cheers. The stage lights up again, and there they are, Dark Havoc in the flesh, larger than life. The opening riffs blast through the arena, and the sound is so overwhelming that I feel it in my bones. It's perfect. As the band moves into their second song, I start to lose myself in the music. My body sways with the rhythm, the beat taking over my senses. It's as if the world outside this arena doesn't exist anymore. Nothing matters except this moment. I close my eyes, letting the sound wash over me. And then I hear it. At first, it's so subtle that I think I'm imagining things, a faint whisper, almost drowned by the music. I open my eyes and glance around, but no one else seems to notice. Everyone is still screaming, singing along with the band. I shake it off, figuring it's just feedback from the speakers or maybe someone next to me. But as the song continues, the whisper comes again, more distinct this time. My name. I hear it, clear as day, mixed into the music. Emily, I freeze. I look around, trying to see if anyone is calling me. Maybe it's a friend, someone I didn't notice before, but I don't recognize a single face around me. The crowd is just a blur of strangers, all focused on the stage. I'm surrounded, but at the same time, I feel alone. Is it the music? Did I just mishear the lyrics? I try to shake off the strange feeling creeping up my spine. This is my favorite band, my dream night. There's no way I'm going to let a weird moment ruin it. But as the next song starts, it happens again. The voice, whispering my name. Emily, This time, it's louder, more insistent. It feels like it's coming directly from the speakers, as if someone is standing right behind the band, speaking just to me. I turn my head toward the stage, half expecting to see someone looking at me, but there's nothing. Just the band, the flashing lights, and the endless roar of the crowd. I try to focus on the music, but my heart is racing for a different reason now. The excitement I felt earlier is quickly turning into something else, something darker. The voice is familiar, too familiar, as if I've heard it before but can't place it. My name sounds strange coming from it, distorted and stretched. And then, just when I think I'm losing it, the voice says something else. It whispers something only I should know. I feel a cold sweat break out across my skin. My breath catches in my throat, and I look around again, but no one seems to notice the change in me. They're all still caught up in the music, completely unaware of the dread creeping up inside me. No, I must be imagining this. It has to be a trick of the mind, a weird distortion from the speakers, maybe a side effect of being too close to the stage. But even as I tell myself this, I can't shake the uneasy feeling that something isn't right. Something is watching me. Something knows me. I try to lose myself in the music again, but the spell is broken. The voice, that whisper, it keeps echoing in the back of my mind, growing louder, becoming more personal, more intimate. And for the first time tonight, I want to leave. I can't shake it. No matter how hard I try to focus on the music, the whispering won't stop. Every time I think it's gone, it comes back. Stronger, my name, over and over, creeping through the speakers. Emily, at first, it was faint, almost like a breeze passing through my ears. But now, it's undeniable. I keep telling myself it's a trick. I'm too close to the stage, and maybe there's some weird sound distortion, or I'm just imagining things because I'm so overwhelmed by being here. But deep down, I know that's not true. The voice feels too real, like it's meant for me and me alone. I try to brush it off, try to enjoy the show, but it's like a shadow hanging over me now. The music, once so powerful and exhilarating, has become background noise to this growing fear. Every note the band plays feels distant, hollow. I can barely hear them anymore, because the whispering is all I can focus on. And then it happens again. Emily. The voice comes, clear as day, slipping through the music like a cold breath on the back of my neck. My heart skips a beat. I whip my head around, scanning the crowd, but everyone is still lost in the show, completely unaware. No one else hears it. It's just me. I take a deep breath, trying to calm down. I can't let myself spiral. But the voice keeps going, and this time, it doesn't just say my name. It whispers something personal, something no one else could know. My blood runs cold. My eyes dart around frantically. This has to be a joke, right? A prank. Maybe someone hacked into the sound system and is messing with me. But who? And how could they know that? I suddenly feel very exposed, like the crowd around me is closing in. My chest tightens, and I can feel the panic rising. I try to convince myself that it's all in my head, but the voice, it's so clear, so direct, like someone is standing right next to me, whispering in my ear. I need to get out of here. The thought hits me like a punch. I don't want to leave. This is supposed to be the best night of my life, but the urge to run is overwhelming now. It's like a weight on my chest, suffocating me, pressing down harder with every passing second. I look toward the exits, but they feel so far away, buried behind a sea of people. Just when I think the whispering has reached its peak, it changes again. The voice becomes sharper, more insistent. Emily. You can't hide from me, I freeze. My breath catches in my throat. The voice isn't just calling my name anymore. It's threatening me. My heart pounds in my ears, and suddenly, everything feels wrong. The music, the crowd, the lights, it's all off, twisted. I feel like I'm trapped in a nightmare, and no matter how hard I try to shake myself out of it, I can't. The voice is everywhere now, wrapping around me, seeping into every corner of my mind. I know your secrets, it hisses, sending a wave of nausea through me. My legs tremble, and I clutch the railing in front of me to steady myself. How could this be happening? Who's doing this? I need to get out. I need to escape this madness. I start pushing my way through the crowd, my eyes locked on the nearest exit sign. People around me are still lost in the music, swaying and cheering, oblivious to the terror that's clawing at my insides. I shove past them, apologizing under my breath, but I don't care if I'm being rude anymore. I just need to get out of this place. As I move, the voice follows me. It's no longer just a whisper, it's a constant presence, a low hum that I can't shake. It feels like it's in my head now, not coming from the speakers at all. And with every step I take, the voice grows louder. You think you can run? My skin prickles with fear. I push harder, practically shoving people out of the way now, desperate to reach the doors. I can feel eyes on me, like someone is watching, tracking every move I make. My stomach churns as the panic builds. I need to breathe. I need to think. Finally, I break free from the crowd, stumbling into the open space near the exit. I rush toward the doors, relief flooding through me as I get closer. But just as I reach for the handle, something makes me stop dead in my tracks. The doors, they won't open. I pull on them, hard, but they don't budge. I try again, yanking with all my strength, but they're locked. My heart sinks as I stare at the exit, my only way out, sealed shut. How can this be happening? I look around frantically, searching for someone, anyone, who might be able to help, but everyone is still absorbed in the show, completely unaware of what's happening. You're not going anywhere, Emily, the voice snarls, and this time, it sounds like it's right behind me. I spin around, my back pressed against the door, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. My mind races, trying to make sense of the situation, but nothing makes sense anymore. The music pounds in the background, but all I can hear is that voice, echoing in my head, relentless. I'm trapped. I'm trapped. The realization hits me like a punch to the gut, and panic surges through my veins. The doors, my only escape, are locked tight, and no matter how hard I pull, they won't open. I glance around, desperate for help, but no one even notices me. The crowd is still hypnotized by the music, swaying, cheering, completely oblivious to my terror. It's as if I'm invisible, screaming into a void where no one can hear me. The voice hasn't stopped. It's still there, a constant, menacing presence, growing louder and more demanding with every passing second. You can't escape, Emily, My heart is pounding so fast I feel like I might pass out. I lean against the door, trying to catch my breath, but it's no use. The panic is all-consuming now, choking me. I have to get out of here. I can't stay. Not with that voice, that presence closing in on me. I turn, frantically scanning the arena for another way out. There has to be another exit, right? There's always another way. My eyes land on a door off to the side, near the edge of the stage. A staff entrance, maybe? I don't care. It's my only option now. I start to move, pushing past people as gently as I can, though my hands are shaking and my mind is racing. As I get closer to the stage, the voice becomes louder, more oppressive, like it's pressing down on my entire body. You think you can run from me? It sneers. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I can feel it. Something cold, something wrong, hovering just out of sight. I don't dare look back. I don't want to see whatever it is that's stalking me. I need to stay focused. I need to get to that door. Finally, I reach the side of the stage. My fingers fumble for the handle of the staff door, and I yank it open. I slip inside, my heart pounding in my throat. The heavy door slams shut behind me, cutting off the roar of the crowd. For a brief second, I'm in silence. But the silence is worse. It's thick, suffocating, like the air itself is pressing in on me. I stand there, frozen, listening to my own ragged breathing as it echoes off the narrow hallway walls. The voice is gone, at least for now, but I can still feel it lurking just out of reach, waiting to strike. I take a step forward, the echo of my footstep unnaturally loud in the cramped space. I don't know where I'm going. I just need to get away, need to put as much distance between me and that thing as possible. My mind is spinning, replaying the night over and over, trying to understand how everything went so horribly wrong. One moment, I was at the concert of my dreams, and the next, I'm being hunted by something I can't even see. I move quickly down the hallway, my footsteps growing faster as the panic creeps back in. Every shadow, every flicker of light sends a jolt of fear through me. The walls feel like they're closing in, narrowing with every step I take. And then I hear it again. Emily. The voice echoes down the hallway, but it sounds different now. Closer. I freeze. My blood turns to ice. It's here. My legs feel like they're made of lead as I slowly turn around, my breath catching in my throat. The hallway stretches out behind me, long and dimly lit, but there's no one there. At least, no one I can see. But the voice, it's everywhere. You can't hide, I take a step backward, my hand brushing against the cold, concrete wall for support. I need to keep moving, but my body won't cooperate. I'm paralyzed, trapped by the weight of that voice. It knows things about me, things it shouldn't, secrets I've buried, memories I've tried to forget. And the way it says them, it's like it's toying with me, enjoying my fear. I take another step back, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The hallway seems to stretch on forever, but I know I can't stay here. I force my legs to move, one foot in front of the other, faster and faster, until I'm practically running down the corridor. My heart is hammering in my chest, my palms slick with sweat. I round a corner, and there, another door. My hands fumble for the handle, yanking it open, and I burst through it into what looks like a backstage area. The lights are brighter here, harsh and glaring, but I don't care. It feels safer. But then I hear it again. Emily. Behind you, I freeze, every muscle in my body tensing. Slowly, painfully slowly, I turn my head. And there, standing in the shadows, I see it, a figure, dark and indistinct, but I can feel its eyes on me. Watching. Waiting. My heart stops. I know everything about you, the voice hisses, and I realize something horrifying. It's not just a voice anymore. It's real. I back away, my legs trembling, my mind screaming at me to run. But I'm too slow. The figure steps forward, out of the shadows, and I see it. Its face, twisted and wrong, like a reflection in a shattered mirror. Its eyes lock onto mine, and I can't look away. It's here for me. My breath catches in my throat as I stare at the figure in the shadows. Its face, if I can even call it that, flickers like a static-filled screen, constantly shifting, melting, and reforming in a grotesque way. My legs feel weak, and my instincts scream for me to run, but I can't move. It's as if my body has betrayed me, leaving me frozen in place. You're not leaving this place, Emily, The voice slithers into my ears, dripping with malice. It's no longer just an echo in my mind. It's coming from the figure in front of me. I can see its mouth moving, warping, as it speaks. I stumble backward, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I need to move, I need to run, but fear has my limbs locked tight. The figure takes a step toward me, its form dark and oily, almost blending into the shadows. But the eyes, those dead, empty eyes, stay fixed on me, like they're piercing straight into my soul. Without thinking, I finally manage to move, spinning around and sprinting toward the back of the room. I don't care where I'm going. I just need to get away from it. My heart is hammering so hard in my chest it feels like it's about to explode. Every step I take feels sluggish, as if I'm running through quicksand, while the weight of that thing's presence clings to me, suffocating me. The room seems endless, stretching on and on. My footsteps echo off the walls, growing louder with every panicked step I take. I can't hear the crowd anymore. The music is nothing but a distant thrum, barely audible over the sound of my own ragged breathing. It's like I've been cut off from the world outside, trapped in this nightmare with no way out. Emily, you can't run forever, The voice is behind me, taunting me, growing louder, closer. I slam into a door at the far end of the room and frantically fumble with the handle. For a horrifying second, I think it's locked, and a fresh wave of panic surges through me. But then it gives way, and I tumble through, slamming it shut behind me. I'm in another hallway, this one even darker and narrower than the last. The fluorescent lights flicker above me, casting eerie, broken shadows across the walls. I lean against the door, gasping for air, my chest heaving. For a moment, I think I've lost it. But then I hear the softest creak, a sound so faint that I almost don't register it. My stomach drops. The door behind me moves slightly, as if someone is pushing against it. Emily. The voice whispers, low and menacing, right next to my ear. I scream. Without thinking, I bolt down the hallway, my shoes slapping against the cold, hard floor. The narrow corridor seems to stretch out endlessly, with doors on either side that lead to who knows where. I don't care. I'm too scared to think clearly. As I run, I can feel it. Something is following me. The air grows heavier, colder, as if a deep chill is sinking into my bones. My vision blurs at the edges, panic clouding my mind. Every breath burns in my lungs, but I can't stop. I won't stop. Ahead of me, the corridor branches off in two directions. I skid to a halt, my mind racing. Which way do I go? The left looks darker, but the right. Something feels wrong about it. But then I hear it again, from behind. Don't turn around, Emily, the voice is so close now, like it's breathing down my neck. I can practically feel it. Feel him, my skin crawls, and my entire body trembles as I resist the urge to look back. With a sob caught in my throat, I choose the left. The darkness swallows me whole, the dim lights behind me fading until I'm enveloped in shadow. I can barely see, relying on pure adrenaline to propel me forward. Every footstep echoes louder in the emptiness. And then the voice changes. It's not just taunting me anymore. It's angry. Cold, seething anger. You'll never escape me, The words reverberate through the walls, shaking me to my core. I trip. My foot catches on something. Nothing, and I fall, crashing to the floor. Pain shoots up my ankle, and I cry out, my body instinctively curling in on itself. The shock of the impact leaves me dizzy, and for a moment, I just lie there, gasping, the world spinning around me. But then I hear footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps. They're getting closer. I scramble to my feet, wincing as my ankle throbs with pain. I can't stop now. I force myself to keep moving, limping through the darkness. My heart is in my throat, beating so hard I think it might burst. The footsteps behind me are faster now, almost matching my pace. I reach a door at the end of the hallway and throw myself against it, my fingers trembling as I push it open. I stumble inside and slam it shut, locking it behind me. I'm in some kind of storage room, filled with old equipment and forgotten props. The walls are lined with shelves stacked high with dusty boxes. I press my back against the door, breathing heavily, trying to quiet the panic rising in my chest. Silence. For the first time in what feels like hours, there's only silence. No voice. No footsteps. Just nothing. I sink to the floor, trying to calm my racing heart. Maybe it's over. Maybe I've escaped. But as soon as I start to relax, I hear something, a soft scratching sound, like nails dragging against wood. My blood runs cold. The scratching grows louder, more insistent. You thought you could hide from me, Emily? The voice returns, more vicious than ever. I grip the edge of the shelf beside me, my knuckles white, fear clawing at my chest. It knows where I am. I'm not safe. Not here. Not anywhere. The scratching intensifies, a sound so sharp and relentless that it feels like it's burrowing into my brain. My hands tremble as I press my back harder against the door, as if somehow my body could hold it shut. But deep down I know there's no escaping it. Asterisk Emily. Asterisk, the voice slithers through the air. Closer now, pressing in from all sides. Asterisk, you thought you could run. Asterisk, I can't move. My muscles lock up as terror coils around me like a vice. The room, once a mere storage closet, feels like it's shrinking. Every shadow seems alive, creeping toward me. The air grows thick, suffocating, as if the very walls are closing in. Suddenly, the scratching stops. The silence that follows is almost worse. It's so heavy, so deafening, that my ears ring with the absence of sound. I strain to listen, praying, hoping that maybe it's gone. Maybe this nightmare is over. But then I hear it. A single, deliberate knock on the door. Asterisk, let me in, Emily. Asterisk, the voice, so cold and intimate, pierces through the thin wood. Asterisk, I've been waiting for you. Asterisk. I choke back a scream. The door shakes as something pounds against it, harder this time, rattling on its hinges. My entire body jerks with each thud. It's trying to get in. My mind races, desperately searching for a way out. But there's nowhere to go. The room is tiny, cramped, and the only exit is the door that separates me from it. I scan the shelves around me, but all I see are dusty boxes and old, forgotten equipment. Nothing that could help. Nothing that could protect me. Panic claws at my chest, and I feel like I'm drowning in it. Another knock. No, a bang. The door splinters at the edges. Asterisk, open the door, Emily. Asterisk, the voice is softer now, coaxing, almost tender. Asterisk, don't you want to know who I am? Asterisk, my breath catches in my throat. Who is this? Why me? What does it want? The questions swirl in my mind, but there are no answers, only fear. My hands grip the dusty shelf beside me, my knuckles white, my heart pounding so hard it's deafening. Another bang. The wood cracks, splintering near the handle. I don't have much time. I have to do something. On instinct, I grab the nearest object, a heavy metal rod, pulling it from between some old props. It feels cold and solid in my hands, but useless. What good will this do against whatever it is? The door gives way with a sickening crack, splintering open. And there it stands, in the doorway, that thing. The figure is taller than I remember, more defined, as if it's taken on a more solid form. Its face, asterisk God, asterisk that face, shifts and ripples like liquid, never settling on any one expression. And its eyes, black, bottomless pits that pull me in, making it impossible to look away. Asterisk, you can't hide from me. Asterisk. Its voice is soft now, almost a whisper, but filled with that same venomous intent. Asterisk, I've been with you all along. Asterisk. My grip tightens on the metal rod as I take a step back, my heart thundering in my chest. I raise the rod, shaking, ready to defend myself, though I know it's pointless. But what else can I do? My body is acting on pure survival instinct. It steps closer, its form shifting, distorting, as if it's struggling to stay contained in this reality. The temperature in the room plummets, and I can see my breath coming out in ragged clouds. My limbs feel heavy, sluggish, like I'm moving underwater. Asterisk, do you know why you hear me, Emily? Asterisk, it whispers, tilting its head, its grotesque face stretching into something like a smile. Asterisk, because I'm inside you. I know every dark secret you try to hide, every fear, every regret. Asterisk. My throat tightens. The air is so thick, it's like breathing through a sponge. I want to scream, to cry, to beg for this nightmare to end, but the words die in my throat. Asterisk, you'll never be free of me, asterisk. The figure's voice wraps around me like a suffocating fog. Asterisk, I'll always be with you, no matter where you go, asterisk. With a sudden burst of desperation, I swing the rod with all my strength, aiming for its head. But my arms feel weak, and the rod barely makes contact before it passes through its body, as if striking smoke. The thing laughs, a low, guttural sound that chills me to the bone. Asterisk, futile, asterisk, it leans in closer, so close I can feel the freezing cold radiating off it. Asterisk, you can't fight what's already a part of you, asterisk. I stumble back, my head spinning, every nerve in my body on fire with terror. My back hits the wall, and I realize I'm cornered. There's no escape, nowhere to run. The figure looms over me, its form bending and twisting, as though reality itself is warping around it. I can feel it pulling at me, tugging at the edges of my mind, like it's trying to sink into my very being. Asterisk, you'll never escape, asterisk. Its final words reverberate in my skull, and then, with a terrifying, sudden movement, it lunges. I scream, but the sound is swallowed by the darkness. Everything goes cold. And then, silence. When I open my eyes, I'm no longer in the storage room. I'm standing in the middle of the concert hall again, the stage in front of me, the crowd still roaring in the distance, but it's all muffled, distant, like I'm trapped in a vacuum. The voice is gone, but the feeling of its presence remains. As I look around, I realize that nothing will ever be the same. It didn't leave. It's still with me, in my mind, in my soul. I'll never be alone again. And that's the most horrifying truth of all.